From Bitcoin, blockchain or distributed ledger technology to cryptocurrencies, tokens and initial coin offerings, it seems everyone involved has something to say, but can you really trust their advice? One man's had enough of weasel words and charlatans and is ready to give you impartial, independent analysis. With digestible blockchain bites, ICO analysis and need-to-know news on cryptocurrencies, author, speaker, transparency and clarity advocate, and award-winning software innovator, Barry James brings you Radio ICO.
Hello again, it's Barry James for ICO Radio, the Blockchain Bites program. And we've got a really interesting and important development we're going to be talking about today, which is CITY A.M's new CryptoInsider. And I'm delighted to introduce my guest, whose brainchild this was and is, James Bowater. Welcome, James.
Hey, Barry.
So would you tell us just a little bit about your background, how you came to this whole blockchain world? And maybe we'll move on and talk about CITY A.M's CryptoInsider from there.
Cool, no worries. I think the first thing I got to stress is that I'm certainly not an expert in the world of crypto tokenization and blockchain. Having said that, it sort of touches on what I've been doing in the past, which is looking to protect goods and services with anti-counterfeiting measures and the like, primarily through cutting-edge holography, and looking at other possibilities of combining that with things like printed electronics. That very much is an ongoing process and something that I haven't lost sight of. But the advent of blockchain certainly came to me, I think probably early part of 2017, when I was approached by an old friend from Newfoundland who had acquired a blockchain business in Switzerland, and that was really when I first started taking note. And I just simply didn't understand or know enough about it at the time to give it too much credence or time, because I was a bit more focused on my own stuff at that moment. But fast forward a little bit of time to, I think, November-ish time last year, is when I really did start taking it very seriously because, and again, it's like with all these things, a friend was involved and I wanted to find out more. So that's really where it sort of, my interest started. And then as far as the concept behind CITY A.M's CryptoInsider, was very much the consequence of meeting up with Harry Owen, who is the Chief Operating Officer of CITY A.M Media Group, who is a friend, and we were at an event discussing this, and funny enough, finding that both of us didn't really know one end of an ICO from another.
Yeah.
What is an ICO? And it's certainly not the what is that? There's another acronym for an ICO, which has got nothing to do with coins, but internal commission of audit, or I don't know, whatever it was.
Yeah.
We
generation event, possibly, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, sure. But look, the point is when I research or get involved or want to look into something, I try and do my best to dive straight in. So from November, I made it my business to try and learn, because at the outset I was thinking, well, some Bitcoin is some dodgy thing to pay for drugs on the dark web or something like that. I mean, in other words, really the whole idea of CryptoInsider is to help the CITY A.M's readership debunk all the terminology and a bit of myth busting to go with it. And effectively, set out to bridge the knowledge gap. And as I learn, I'd like to sort of share my, thoughts as well, as I learn. And I do have my own projects that I'm looking at specifically for this world, because as I touched on before, what I've been looking at is how to best protect companies, products, services, and also identity documentation and education certificates, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And see how by combining all the various technologies at my sort of disposal / knowledge, that it can be made more effective.
Yeah, and
that's really where the motivation came from.
Yeah, and there's a whole fascinating area there, which we might touch on later on, of linking the blockchain and the verifiability into the physical world. Which
I think you're right, because in fact it is exactly what I am looking at. I don't particularly want to give the game away to everybody straight away, but yes, I mean there is definitely an importance to not overly. If you rely on any one singular technology, it can be very dangerous.
Yeah,
is all I would say.
Yeah.
And I think that what we don't want to do is to try and portray blockchain as some holy grail, because it isn't. It needs to be used and deployed in the right way.
Yeah.
And there I am now trying to sound like an expert, and I promise you I'm not.
It's okay, but actually, in a sense, and I'm sure we'll talk more about linking the blockchain to the real world in the future. But that's actually the point, isn't it? That you're on a journey that a lot of people are going to be going on, and it's not necessarily an easy one.
Yeah, and I think, as I said, it comes back to sort of demystifying things, and also hopefully remove some of the stigma, because again, even you told me, I think, when we first discussed something along these lines, of the quantum of ICOs and things that are out there. I mean, the sheer number of them is breathtaking, and seem to solve all of the world's problems in one fell swoop, whilst cutting out all the middlemen. So I'm not entirely sure what those poor middlemen are how they're going to feed their families going forward. So I mean, I think there needs to be a certain degree of, hang on, guys, let's take a breath, come back a little bit to ground zero, and see what actually works and doesn't work, and also expose the ones as quickly as possible that are complete, hogwash. Really.
Well, as you know, we're very committed to that and to bringing transparency, but we'll kind of maybe visit that another time.
Sure. But I think from my point of view, certainly regulation is bloody important. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to swear, but I think it is it's a very essential component piece of everything. And I get it, and I understand that the whole euphoric idea and endeavor of blockchain, decentralized, this, that, and the other, without any oversight, is very appealing to the originators. But I think that you've got there's a middle ground, let's put it that way. And I think that everyone can get to a point where things are a happy medium, where not everyone is jumping up and down and saying, you've dictated to me that this has got to happen, and that there has to be a happy balance that doesn't mean that everyone loses their job.
Absolutely. We need to get to a place where the innovation can happen without without there being the level of problems that perhaps there is at the moment. But to come back to CITY A.M's CryptoInsider, what is it exactly?
Well, we're going to suck it and see for 12 weeks. And then, God willing, and assuming that we're all interested in continuing the journey, it'll carry on from there. But we're going to start by releasing the first one on Monday, the 18th of June, which will be a double-page spread. We've got some wonderful contributors, not least of all yourself, Barry, but Thomas Power and Rick O'Neill both are doing some great writing. And then Richard Crawford Small of Cosmocoin is going to be our inaugural interviewee for the sort of interview with the founder CEO, to sort of say that it gives a window for people to talk about what they're trying to do with the tokenization or whatever their business model happens to be.
Yeah.
And so I know that's going to be a good feature as well, and carry very much in that vein. We're trying to be, certainly not giving investment advice. That's an absolute no. But definitely exposing people to thoughts and ideas. And as I said, very important, giving definition to what these things are. Why is it so important? What is decentralized ledger technology? Let's try and sort of remove the or help at least people understand the jargon, and that it's not entirely silly.
Well, I can't wait to see Thomas Power's first guest editorial, because I know Thomas well from of old, so that's going to be great. And I know there's going to be a series of them after that. And I know I've seen some of Rick's material already, that is going to really help people to understand what's going on. So it's not a bad start.
Yeah, no, I think the good thing with Rick is that Thomas is basically it's what we're doing is a guest feature writer, so to speak.
Yeah.
So he's our first one, and then it might be that we get somebody next week to talk about regulation and territories and things like that. But hopefully people with expertise in their field to share and inform the readers for sure.
Yeah.
Rick O'Neill, who's the founder of Look, Touch, Feel, I've asked him, because, as I said earlier, we're doing this for 12 weeks as a starter. I said, well, why don't you write a series of 12 articles? Removing the sort of the veil behind the ICO process, which I'm very excited about. So that I think will be very informative for the readers going forward. Obviously, thank you for having me on the program, but obviously I've asked you to to provide us with the weekly ICO news of what to look for in the coming week, which I think ties in quite neatly with us being published on a Monday. I'm looking forward to it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, me too. And it hopefully will be a real eye-opener for readers more generally. But actually, I think it's a great thing for the ICO world to have this kind of shop window when, we've got all these issues with Google and Facebook, and even,
you're referring, of course, to the the ironic banning of
yes.
Mind you, I must confess that during one particular period, my Facebook feed was inundated, so I kind of understand about finding a middle ground. But middle ground isn't banning things, so and I find it even more ironic given that Facebook is exploring their own blockchain solutions anyway. So it's
in the trouble it's in.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think this has great promise for the future. And I'll obviously make sure there's some contact details, along with the show, so people will be able to make contact to suggest things, ask questions, and ICOs, of course, wanting to get some of the limelight. We'll make sure that happens. Is there anything else apart from that?
Well, I think what will be, I think everyone involved would like to see it, progress further than the 12 weeks that we're starting with. And I think that, one of the things that CITY A.M as a group does extremely well is specialty magazines. And I think that something very much on the cards would be Crypto Quarterly. So if we can get ourselves to that stage, then I think we could really have an informed session every quarter with a more meaty tome. And then we'll be doing events as well. So blockchain and beers is always a popular one, isn't it? So we might find a suitable venue for that. And from all of the various meetups that I've been to, I know that that particular audience loves their pizza, so maybe we'll do a pizza evening or something. I'm not sure, but certainly we'll be looking to do CITY A.M's CryptoInsider events at some point somewhere, where people can meet up and actually meet the experts and interact with them, but in a more casual setting rather than a sort of a formal, sort of like conference style, podium thing. Just more of a mingle, where people can be introduced and ask questions, and I think, actually having, as it were, the crypto insiders, plural, being able to meet with CITY A.M's audience in a physical setting would be an extremely good add-on. So that would be something I'd like to see happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure there's going to be, a string of events that are probably going to come from this, and a lot more. So it's just a beginning.
Well, indeed. In fact, actually, we're going to publish an events diary every week anyway as well. So, there might be some interesting meetups. There's now, I think, obviously, Johnny Fry at Team Blockchain, and they do a particularly good ICO meetup that I think is a very good starting point. Certainly was for me anyway. It's a very good starting point for people to, again, go in that is a more formal setting, but at least then you can be exposed and and experience some formal presentations on the subject. So again, it's making it more institutional friendly, which I think probably would appeal to the CITY A.M reader.
Great, thank you. If there's one thing that you'd like people to remember from this interview, or to know about, what's going to be happening with CITY A.M's CryptoInsider, what would that be?
Well, I think, look, the object of the exercise is to inform. And if we're able to do that, and I think you said something quite sensible, which is that, people will be able to interact with us and therefore email their questions, and if we can then, we're not going to be stick in the mud. Let's try and respond to people and give them what they want, really. In terms of understanding, the idea is to inform and help, and and also hopefully remove the stigma that's starting to sort of grow around that whole the whole industry, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's incredibly important. And so, let me say two things. Firstly, that I'm delighted to be part of the team and to be looking at, what's latest and the trends and so on.
Just make sure your copy's on time, Barry.
Yeah, well, we'll work on that. But also thank you, James, for this initiative, because I think it is a really important one in bringing this into the mainstream. And as you say, blowing away the false miasma of fear that has been created around it. And thank you.
Well, you're very kind, but I'm just one big shout out. Obviously, is if it wasn't for Harry Owen and I having the chat, then is as much his brainchild as it is mine. It takes two to tango, and we needed CITY A.M, and they've been great and supportive. So thank you, Harry.
Well, thank you to Harry and CITY A.M. In going where I think a lot of those are going to be following very soon. So trailblazers, thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
ICO Radio was brought to you by author, speaker, transparency and clarity advocate, and award-winning software innovator Barry James. Get in touch with the programme, put yourself or someone else forward as a guest. Visit iconewsdesk.com. And if you've enjoyed the show, please leave a review. And don't forget to subscribe to get your next insights and interviews from the ICO Radio podcast.